there is some good in this world, and it's worth fighting for. J.R.R. Tolkien.
And I say this to you tonight, let us not forget. There's hope. Crystal Method, keep hope alive.
The world is indeed full of peril, and in it there are many dark places, but still there is much that is fair, and though in all the lands love is now mingled with grief, it grows perhaps the greater. Again, J.R.R. Tolkien.
But I know, somehow, that only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. Martin Luther King Jr.
Devil is amongst us. Stay back, boy. This calls for divine intervention. I kick ass for the Lord.
Welcome to Heresy and Hearsay, a podcast to reclaim faith through the context of political discussion. I'm Reverend Barney, and you can follow me on most social medias at SethRothII. Heresy and Hearsay has a Patreon site where you can find us at patreon.com/heresy and hearsay, where you can find our past shows and a way to help us. Just $2 a month. It goes a long way to help this make this a humble show. And today with me, my co-host, this show's Galadriel, September.
Hi, this is September, also known as 9 of 12, and you can follow me by going to 9of12.com and find links to all my stuff. You can follow this show on YouTube, Facebook, Blue Sky, and any podcast catcher. Just look for Heresy and Hearsay. Please like, share, follow, subscribe to us, and also give us a review. That helps others find us. You can find our first volume of this show on YouTube and Patreon.
So today we're going to talk about the inauguration and the things that happened thereafter, and the speech from the liar in chief. But before we do that, Brother Bowie, will you lead us in a word of prayer?
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
All right. So before we get into the show, there's a personal thing I want to say real quick. A friend of mine, Rob, is currently, as we speak right now, in surgery. He got an infection, and they're having to deal with that. So I want to send the show's well wishes and prayers for him, as he is currently in surgery right now. Luckily, he is a Canadian and he is in Canada, so he gets like actual healthcare that won't break his bank. So yeah, pluses. But that being said, now we get to talk about the hellscape that is America. All right, yay! That's gonna be fantastic.
Yay!
So, did you listen to the speech or did you just watch it?
I
or read it, I should say.
Listened to small parts and then I read it because it's easier.
His voice is yeah. I listened to the speech. I like it,
but I did listen to his little mini press conference situation. Actually, huge, like more than he actually ever does in a press conference. When he was signing all the executive orders.
Oh yeah.
And I wonder. I feel like they loaded him up with Adderall. He was using complete sentences.
That's possibly true that he was on Adderall or something like that and everything else. And also, he was probably excited because Big Boy gets to stand and become president again. So, but let's first talk about where they had the inauguration. They had it in the rotunda because it was so cold outside, which it's cold, don't get me wrong. But, they talked about how Obama's first or second inauguration was like wind chill of 15 degrees outside and everything else, and they still had it outside. So.
Yeah, the first one. Well, I mean, he was a very young president. Trump won't admit it, but he is more feeble, as were a lot of people in attendance. I was at Obama's first one. It was cold. I had
you
tickets
lost filling and
to a section, the silver section, and it was also so crowded. Like
Uh,
it was insanely crowded. The whole mall. They ended up having to close off this tunnel that goes from one side of the mall to the other, and we got blocked to where we couldn't get to the seats we had. Me and my friend Scott that went,
right.
unless we were to go back down all the way around the mall to the other side, and we weren't going to get there in time when that shutdown happened. And we gave up and got on the subway and went to the mall, the Pentagon Mall thing,
Right.
and watched it in a pub, and then went and got ready for the neighborhood ball that we went to.
Yeah. The only time I've been to DC was for the rally to restore sanity and/or fear, and it was in October, late October, early November. I say, kind of. It was a lot of people there, so But yeah, so but yeah, I messaged September about them putting it inside, and I was like, "Do you think it's because of the crowd size?" She says, "No, it's because he it was so cold he couldn't handle it." And I was like, "Yeah," and
Yeah,
that's what the jokes have been on late night television, like, "Oh, with a hot cocoa while you're indoors," kind of thing. It's like,
yeah, I did watch Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert a little bit before I got
mm,
into watching Trump, just to kind of
I did
ease
too.
me in. Like,
Like it's like I can't jump right into Trump. I gotta ease into this a little bit. Like
yeah, but I had done the
so
research, and hotel reservations and things were on par with other inaugurations. I mean, obviously not Obama level.
right.
One outlet claimed Obama level. I'm like, mm-mm. Yeah, 80%, 70-80% of hotels being booked is not Obama level. You couldn't get a room anywhere. I was actually put up by an activist in Maryland
Uh,
because there were no
right.
rooms to
Yeah.
be had
My
then.
understanding, you couldn't get a hotel room within like 100 miles of DC
Yeah.
with Obama, but it was also, to be
But with
fair,
other inaugurations, this was on
yeah,
par, and this was a shitty
yeah,
thing to do to his followers.
oh yeah.
I mean, people spent a lot
especially
of
when you
money.
saw that especially when you saw the people that were in the rotunda, which is mostly billionaires and millionaires and stuff like that, and of course the standard individuals, the former presidents and stuff like that. But you saw a lot of like Jeff Bezos and his wife or girlfriend or whatever, and everything else. I also noticed when they were walking out, I noticed that Don Jr.'s girlfriend was not in attendance, who is now going to be the ambassador to Greece. So maybe
You
that's
know
why
who
she.
else didn't go?
Like,
Michelle didn't go.
no, well, which was, yeah. I kind of wish Obama. Here's the thing: if you have spent months talking about how this guy is Hitler, and then and then you do this, I'm like, I can understand Biden doing it, but the other, like Hillary Clinton and Bill and Obama, you know, they shouldn't have went.
Eh,
My personal opinion.
I mean, they feel like, I think my take is that they're showing duty and to the office. They
I
get to keep the
understand.
title forever, and faith in America. There was some really funny. W looked like
He
he
looked like
was
he blown up like a balloon.
laughing at
Yeah,
the whole thing, like trying to
yeah,
control himself from laughing. Biden crossing himself was
yeah.
amazing. I saw somebody on TikTok posted, like, "What is this?" I'm like, I know exactly what that is. I grew up Catholic. Like,
Like,
you
and
know.
that is him. It's like, oh Lord, yeah. Speaking of that, did you also notice that Trump didn't put his hand on the Bible when he was swearing in? I
Yeah,
want to.
it's a little weird.
I want. I want. Well, it's because the fire. To quote Stephen Colbert, it's because the fire marshal said that he couldn't do that because either him or the Bible would catch on fire indoors.
Yeah. No.
But I want a picture of behind him to make sure he wasn't like had his fingers crossed or something like that while he was doing the oath. Like,
Not like that
uh,
really means anything. But
uh,
I kudos to Michelle standing
yeah,
up and being unwavering in her
Didn't Nancy
ethical codes.
Pelosi
Like
also?
she feels like her family has been unsafe because of
Yeah.
Trump and not doing it.
Didn't Nancy Pelosi also not go? I think she didn't go either.
No, I thought I saw
Uh,
pictures of her there.
um, well, I thought she said she wasn't going to go. I had heard a report that she wasn't going to go. So, but yeah, I know Jeffries was there, but that's duty at that point and everything else. But I know there were several that weren't going to go even when it was outdoors. So, yeah. But let's get into the actual speech. Yeah. So in the past, we've had presidents call us to ask what we not what the country can do for us, but what we can do for our country. We've had hope and change. We've unity speeches, and then we had this speech, which was basically his campaign speech, on top of also threatening to go to war with Panama.
Yeah, like shredding Biden like this. It was so tacky.
It was like it was all his grievances. I have been the most maligned. I've all this kind of stuff, and I have survived and everything else. And I'm like, hey, this is not, you can do that, during your normal, everyday functions. This is not what this speech is about. It had substance, but it also was a scary substance. Like I said, he talked about how tariffs were going to create a way to tax other countries. Look, if other countries could tax other countries, they wouldn't have to tax their own people. That's just, and tariffs affect. Tariffs, for those who don't know, are basically when goods are being shipped into a country, that country that is having the goods shipped into them, they put a tariff, which is basically an extra price on top of this, and that is then not paid by the country. It is paid by the consumers in the country where the goods are being brought into.
Yeah, and you're
So,
right. By the way, Pelosi didn't go. Neither did Karen Pence.
right, right. Which I saw Pence there. I was like, "Are they? Is he?" Again, another joke was he there to make sure they could finish the job this time? What like, everybody going. It's like
And
that would be not
AOC, of
one.
course, didn't go. She was very
Oh, of
public
course,
about it. I saw her on TikTok going, no.
yeah.
Why
Here's
would
the
you even
thing.
ask me that? Was kind of her take.
It's like, have you been here a while? Are you new at this job? Of course I'm not going. What the fuck? like, no. Like, what was interesting is I didn't see like a lot of his big supporters. I didn't see like Marjorie Taylor Greene there. I'm sure she was there, but I didn't see pictures or interactions of like some of his biggest cheerleaders and stuff. I
Well, she's
like
just over the top enough that maybe they were,
concerned.
tr- trying to show less of her, just not show her. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's like I said, I saw a lot of pictures of Jeff Bezos, of the head of Apple, the Elon Musk.
Oh my God. And
I
Fetterman.
oh
Can we
yeah,
talk about how funny? Oh, like
uh,
the casual disrespect. Um,
oh yeah,
right? Like, oh,
I'm like, well, here's the thing. It was cold outside. You're gonna catch yourself a chill, walking around in shorts and it's like, ooh, yeah, at least sweatpants, or leggings or
yeah.
something.
Some people are weird like that. No
Yeah,
one
I
wants to
know.
see Fetterman in leggings. That's weird. What?
I'm just trying to think of warmer, longer clothes. That's all I'm trying to think of right now. It's like I'm not asking you to put on like yoga pants or anything like that. That would be weird. But yeah. But Federer, for those who don't know, you can look it up. But he showed up in basically what, a sweatshirt and workout shorts.
Shorts. Yeah,
Yeah, basketball shorts. The not the
like long ones.
70s and 80s,
Yeah.
but the long ones these days. Yeah, but he showed up in those. Not no team, of course, but that's how he showed up to the inauguration. So I thought that was, yeah. Though he's leaning more right now, I that was still a very nice casual disrespect. It's like, whatever, I'm going to wear what I'm going to wear. This is not that big of a deal for me. What was your overall take on the speech before we get into the aftermath of the speech and everything? What was your overall take of the speech?
Um, I was amazed that I could tell he was reading a prompter.
Yeah.
He's usually very off the cuff, so at least he did that. So at least there were sentences, um, and it was, even though it was egregiously like stupid attacking the former president, like just barely peaceful transfer of power, but compared to last time, um,
Yeah, yeah.
but the one he gave afterward, I don't know if you saw anything about that. He gave
Mm.
another speech to like his real fans.
Oh, and the where they did the celebration where the village people really botched YMCA, which was good because it's like, well, how fuck you dare you do this concert to begin with? But yeah,
I'm very disappointed in them and Snoop. What the fuck?
it's like it's like, Snoop, are you high? Wait, that's a stupid question. But it's like, what are you doing, Snoop? It's like, was at the crypto ball when and we'll discuss the crypto thing later. But
Yeah,
yeah, uh,
and he said a lot of stuff at the executive order signing too.
right. And was that more off the cuff, his normal thread, as he likes to call it, his normal word salad
But it was
bullshit?
no,
Oh, really?
and that's
Okay.
I was like, did they drug him up? Like, or is this the facade? Like he dumbs down with his word salad for all the crazy conspiracy QAnon people because he was, for the most part, I mean, a lot of things he said were just dumb. Like, oh my God, you don't even know what you're talking about. Um, but at least it sounded like he did if you didn't know any better.
Right.
Um, saying, oh, and trashing Jimmy Carter. Fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
Do not. He said that, and he said that Jimmy Carter handed over the Panama Canal to China, who's running it now, and what a mistake that was. What? That's
No,
not how this
that's not.
works at
No,
all.
that's not. No.
Um, his he talked extensively about TikTok because people were asking a lot about that, and you got to give the people in the room some credit for pointing out, like, you started that, dude.
Yeah.
Because he did.
Well,
He
why?
was the one who started the
He.
TikTok ban situation. And it was never proved in any way that it was Chinese spyware and this huge security risk. Their servers are in Texas, for Christ's sake. Like, we could just make it so that, the data is owned, American data is owned uh,
In
domestically.
America. Right.
Like, so they're talking about these changes they're going to make to make it viable that already are a thing. Um, but his talking about it to me was revealing in, again, what a grifter he is. So
Right.
much of the
He.
way he talks about his taxes and tariffs, his dealing with other countries, and his now with TikTok, he kept using this number of like $70 million and how it's worth that. But if he doesn't let TikTok continue, then it's not worth anything. So if he's going to let it continue, it's going to be if we can get that money.
Yeah. If
So,
we could get half of it, right? If we could own half of
right.
TikTok.
And that's not, from my research and understanding and watching people who go to Capitol Hill who've been trying to prevent the ban, um, that is the number, unless it's coincidentally the same number, that's the number that's being pointed to that small business owners who have been able to thrive on TikTok have been
Right.
making. And the
Right.
impact on our economy and the small businesses, that's what that number is. It's
Right.
not what TikTok is worth and we can be 50-50 owners as a country and get money, you grifter. Like,
Yeah.
everything is not. And if he believes, like he said, and got a lot of people convinced it was, that it was, this national security risk that could never get proven, um, then he's just talking like, well, I'll just sell your data to the highest bidder, so whatever, man. It, like, that makes perfect sense to him. He's that, I'm a good businessman and we make bad deals and we could get a better deal. And holy crap. But then he goes to talk about things like Panama and Greenland and that weird shit. And he talks about it in the same terms. And he keeps couching it in national security issues without really understanding any of that. He doesn't understand the politics. He doesn't understand withdrawing from the WHO. Oh, because
Yeah.
we pay more than other people. Well, we have more than other countries. We're bigger, and our benefits from it are also bigger. And this is about keeping us safe, undoing all that shit before, like Obama's pandemic preparedness,
Right.
put us in a really bad place when COVID hit, and
Right.
millions of people died, and
Right.
he's talking about just enacting the same policies. He's
So
reversing some
million
of
more
the
people. Right.
Biden healthcare stuff today. Um,
Didn't he also sign an executive order about basically reversing the drop of prices of prescription medication? I think that was
yeah,
one. Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck? It's like I thought you were supposed to be lowering prices. And by the way, I checked prices before we came on the air. Eggs is still really expensive. They're like $7 for 18. So it's like,
even at Aldi they were about 4.20 yesterday, and there's a limit of buying
yeah.
two. But that's bird flu. That's
I
not.
know. I understand that. I'm just saying, he promised to bring down prices of eggs, and also look at the gas prices. They're not $1.25 again. So
No.
it's like, and
and
also
and the
the
benefits, the lower pricing that were during his term, were people not traveling during the pandemic,
right, correct,
along with domestic uh, production policies that Obama put in place. There's a lot of things he tried to take credit for that were due to Obama policies and due to circumstances. And, we can't blame him for egg prices right now because bird flu, but you shouldn't have been able to blame Biden either because of supply
right.
chain issues due to the pandemic.
Well, and that's the thing is like people. I understand nobody wants to remember the before times when we were in COVID and we were all in lockdown and everything else. That was shitty and sucked. I get that. I completely understand. But I live that way anyways now, even today. So it's for me, it was no change. It's like, oh yay. The only difference is I couldn't leave if I wanted to. But the but nobody was driving and everything else. There was a glut of oil because there was so much oil being produced. And that's why gas prices were ridiculously low, is because no one was using gas. That was a supply demand thing. There was more supply than there was demand. Well, after everything kind of fixed itself, prices went back to normal, which was $3. It's not like it went up to like the Bush era when it was like $6 a gallon when we were in the middle of all those wars. So, and as far as other prices going up and everything else, part of it was, we'd already discussed, part of it was the fact that, there was the supply uh, shock and everything else. It had nothing to do with monetary. It was all supply shock. And then after the supply shock was over, a lot of these companies are like, oh, you'll still pay $6 for a small box of cereal. We'll just keep charging you $6, even though they didn't need it. That's why Harris had talked about going after price gouging and this kind of stuff with these big corporations. But, people weren't paying attention because uh, women of color bad. That is my personal opinion on this at this point, that the reason she lost was a large swath of this country just couldn't handle a woman of color being in charge. And that is my personal, and I will die on that particular hill. But there was a lot of other executive orders that he signed that was really shit and horrible. Let's talk about the one that is getting the most news coverage, because I've noticed it. I haven't checked today because I got up late because it was fucking cold. And my blankets were so comfortable. They were really nice. They were like they embraced me as one of their own, and I just couldn't leave my covers today. Anyway, sorry, off topic. But one of the biggest, the ones that was getting the news all day yesterday, especially, was the blanket pardon of all of the Jan Sixers, even those that attacked and injured police officers.
There are six, if I remember correctly, six or eight um, that are excluded from the blanket pardon that are still being
Mhm.
looked into and didn't get the full pardon. But yes, full pardons
Yeah.
applied immediately to people as heinous as the Proud Boys leader and stuff.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I saw, and I
blah.
but
They've been in jail so long already, and I've seen murders get off with a year and a half, 2 years. He said that ridiculous thing, defending it. So,
yeah, and the thing is that his Mike Johnson and JD Vance all talked about the fact that, oh, those that attack police officers, of course they're not going to get pardons. No, everybody got a pardon.
mm-hmm.
Uh, everybody got, except for, like you said, six out of all of them arrested, only six or eight, are still being
Yep.
looked at.
And
But
people are, on the right are focusing on, well, Biden did that and Trump too. He pardoned during my speech, so I couldn't even say anything about it. Except try to talk again. Because Biden pardoned his family, he pardoned Fauci, he pardoned Liz Cheney, um,
yeah, he pardoned the people that also
the
like
committee.
testified at the committee and the
Right.
people that testified at the committee.
Which
So
is, duh. Like, it's not just like, oh, he looks, and Trump just could say, oh, see, it makes him look guilty. I wouldn't have done that. That's a dangerous precedent. You have been threatening, he has been threatening
to
all
put
of
Liz
those
Cheney in,
people with
yeah,
revenge
yeah,
specifically and taking them down and blah, 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 and putting them in jail and over uh, for his entire campaign.
right,
And so that's the remedy that existed. It doesn't
right,
mean they're guilty. You were going to go after them even though they were just doing their jobs.
right. And it's absolutely, yeah. I can completely understand that, and I'm shocked that he didn't give himself a Biden a pardon, give himself a pardon. But on
And
the same
it's
vein,
so frustrating. Have you watched From Russia with Lev?
no, I still haven't been able to do that because I want to be able to
His
actually sit down and do it.
um, Mango Mussolini's talk about the war in Ukraine never had to start, blah, blah, blah. His shady trying to create evidence against
Mm-hmm.
Biden's son, um, and planning things that didn't exist, and it screwed with the structure of power in Ukraine and invited Russia in.
Right,
His initiatives and things he paid people to do to try and win that campaign just to get dirt to try and throw is in great part responsible for sparking that war.
right.
Um, so yeah, that's insane.
Uh, Between that and how he kept talking, and how he kept talking about how he was possibly, going to leave NATO or weaken NATO. Those are the two things that really kind of like,
Yeah, he was
I,
talking about NATO while he was signing executive orders, and oh my
oh,
god, it was another. He doesn't understand what NATO is. He doesn't. He was talking about it again like it was some kind of business deal.
yeah, that's because I remember, if you remember back in the day when we were younger and more naive, um, when they were talking about Bush going in, that he was going to treat the presidency more like a business. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing was, he was still a politician. The thing is, you cannot treat the government is not designed to be a business. It is designed to it is supposed to help the individuals and keep this country running and do all this kind of stuff. We don't make business deals per se. We do All of our deals are made for the betterment of our people. and everything else. And tariffing or creating a trade war with a country that we do a lot of trade with when they give us raw materials. Like, if everybody remembers, go ahead.
Yeah,
I
people
saw
forgot what this resulted in before. He started a trade war with China, and we
it.
lost. Our dollar was devalued, and the U.S. credit rating fell.
And he also started the trade war with Canada. And remember that at that point, lumber went to astronomical prices because we started tariffing raw materials that we were getting from Canada and everything else, and that slowed down the housing build and everything else because and made houses much more expensive because we still build with lumber. 99% of our homes are built with lumber, not steel in them. So it's one of those situations, we get a lot of raw materials from Canada. We started a trade war with them, and they were like, "Fuck you," all right, but here you go. And at that point, and people forgot that, and he's wanting to start it again, and our farmers suffered to the point where he had to basically bail out the farmers because they couldn't sell corn and everything to China, which is their biggest uh, supplier of corn, the biggest purchaser of our produce is China and everything else. And when he started a trade war with them, it was disastrous for our farmers and everything else. Especially the small farmers, not even agrobiz, which fuck them. But the
I'm surprised at that you didn't put in the notes right up at the top was this definition of sex that
oh
our government now has.
yeah, it's there's only two sexes now. I I figured we would
It's
hit it because
horrible. And
yeah.
one of the things that makes me most angry about it is the way they couch it,
Mhm.
like pulling a full on rolling. Like they named it after protecting women,
Mhm.
defending women from gender ideology extremism, and restoring biological truth to the federal government was the title of this thing. It's outright fucking turf bullshit.
Right.
And how are they gonna like? Oh my god, they act like they're using science. They're saying it, and they're saying it's at conception. At conception, we all have female traits, but they go further. It's like whichever gamete is bigger, but it erases the existence legally of intersex people, which is a
Right.
fucking thing.
Yeah,
And what are they
scientifically
going to
it's
do about the
yeah.
passports? Because people since 2022 have been able to uh, basically choose X as a gender
Right.
and have it on their passports. Do they need to? Are those passports no longer valid? Um,
Can't exact. Well, here's the thing. That's one of those that is probably going to be challenged in the courts.
yeah, the subtle stripping of rights
Yeah.
is going to be in the courts. But like one of the first things you did note was this ending birthright citizenship. I got an immediate text from the ACLU about that one. Um, this terrifies me. I
Hmm.
predicted that he would do something like this because his promises to deport X number, like 10 million people or whatever, with a certain amount of time.
Right.
I've heard the ICE raids have already started, but I didn't go look into that before the show. Um, one of the easiest ways is to take legal
Status away from people.
residents, yeah, remove it and take it away. This threatens my family. If he, just for the numbers,
Hmm.
he could decide that my and Rob's children are not citizens.
But seeing you're a citizen, seeing you're a natural citizen, doesn't that kind of counteract that? That's
I
my
have to read the whole
because
thing.
because the way I read it, and don't get me wrong,
But they're
this is
born
still
to a non citizen, too.
right, but they are a document. The way I read it was non-documented citizens. Uh, that's the way it was
Mm.
read. That I read it. It said non-documented citizens, their children, therefore. So Rob,
No, I saw another. I read. because it's naturalized citizens too.
Okay. They want to take away naturalized citizens' birthright citizenship for their children.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I don't know. I gotta read the actual thing and
That will probably be a discussion we will have not next week because next week is going to
it's be for the courts. So
yeah, that's going to be for the courts. They've already. What is it? Even North Carolina joined into this one, but if I read correctly, that there's already like 23, 24 states that are like, nope, that's not going to happen. And I'm sure Mr. Attorney General Jackson is probably on top of that as well because
oh yeah, and there's a whole slew of things. He's just basically trying to undo the 14th Amendment, which uh, it's a lot of other people's rights that are affected too.
yeah, it's crazy that yeah that was that one slapped me in my face. It's like really. I know you can't do it with an executive order. It has to be done because it's a constitutional amendment. It has to be done through a constitutional amendment to change that. But I've never seen a constitutional amendment remove rights, and there's not enough states that would vote that in. It has to be what 2/3 of the states as well. And wow, that is just crazy. But he did talk about, how he was going. If the families want to stay together, they can go with the parents or whatever that is being shipped off. It's like, what the fuck, And then he's doing this kind of stuff. The other one, and I think this is why I didn't put the gender one, is because I think this one pissed me off a bit more. Was the removal of transgender people from the military? Um, because it's like you're weakening our military. There are wonderful servicemen and servicewomen and officers, service individuals and officers that are transgender that have every right to serve our country just like everybody else. And how dare you? How fucking dare you? Kind of situation. That is gross and no, that should not happen at all. And I don't understand it, and I never will understand why someone wants to do something like that and take away from our military, and then add people who refuse to, and then reinstate people who refuse to take a direct order, and put them back with back pay because they refuse to take the COVID shot. Not for religious reasons or anything else because they got exemptions, but because they just refused to direct order. So we're going to have them go ahead and stay in the military because they refuse to direct order, but trans people who do their job can't do their job anymore. I don't like this timeline we're in. What did we do to get in this timeline, September? September's just shaking her head, going, no. All right, all right, come on, work. Sorry, my niece is being silly. Come on. All right, all right. All right.
It's just so much. It's so
There's so
setting up like the everything that people have been warning about. Like got set up super fast this time. Last time, he didn't really. People were less scared this time because last time he didn't really follow through with a bunch of stuff, and a lot of this is so huge.
Yeah,
So
and
huge.
It's happened.
Cutting the government stuff, like so that you can just point lackeys, taking out security clearance stuff, declaring a national emergency on the border, and just referring to that the whole time he's signing stuff is an invasion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Not being invaded by Mexico people.
I'm worried that he may start a war with Mexico and start shooting into Mexico when migrants are trying to come in.
He equated during conversations, at the signing, he equated the Mexican government with the cartels like they were the same thing.
They are not the same thing at all.
They are very much not the same thing. But he plays into that racist shit, right? It is. Oh, it's absolutely so racist. It's like the only thing protecting me and my family from him just kicking my husband out of the country and saying our kids don't get automatic citizenship, we have to naturalize them or something, is that we're white. And, he feels like he's funny referring to Trudeau as Governor Trudeau.
Yeah. What the?
Ugh.
And here's the thing. Last I checked, wasn't Canada part of NATO?
Yeah.
If we start a war with NATO, with Canada, then the rest of NATO has to blow us to kingdom come.
Yeah.
That basically, yeah, that's
and his
how
attack
that
on
works.
transgender rights being so immediate, and women's rights, honestly, it bleeds right into that with the 14th Amendment stuff. I really have great concern for my trans friends, especially. This blocks all government funding, one of his orders, of any affirmation care. So that's life-threatening in a lot of ways. Not to mention this whole two sexes thing.
Right.
It's another opening a can of worms like the Your Body, My Choice.
Right.
Those people will feel free to attack. They will feel justified in violence. Mm-hmm. He just pardoned violent offenders because they were on the right side, and then signed executive orders targeting specific populations. Why? How can people not see how dangerous that is? That kind of idealism, that Elon doing a Hitler salute.
Twice.
Yeah. This is history repeating itself, and it's happening here, and it's terrifying.
Yeah, I watched after I watched Jon Stewart and everything else. I also watched some Rachel Maddow talking about a lot of the stuff and how we have seen this before. Not in this country per se; it's novel in this country, but we have seen this with like other authoritarian countries. How this starts.
Oh, Germany was horrified.
Yes. Oh, I can imagine.
They were like, he'd be arrested for that here.
Like, yeah, no, I'm sure Germany's going, the fuck? Did you guys not fight a war and blow us to kingdom come because of this bullshit? What the fuck is this? 80 years ago, you were all over our shit about it. Now, what the fuck? Yeah.
I did want to say something else about the TikTok situation. That's kind of funny because they took it down and they put up this little sign saying it wasn't available in the U.S., but President Trump's working on it before he was even president. And then they put it back up with another little sign thanking him. And for all of, and Trump acknowledged this I was watching him talk when he was doing the executive orders. And he acknowledged how he liked TikTok now because he went on there and he got so many views. And, Republicans, that's young people. They don't usually do well with young people, but I did good there. So that and the combination of him inviting the owner and meeting with him and having him at the inauguration and then getting the TikTok CEO to put up these messages, giving him all the credit for this.
Right.
Because Biden could have done it, but Biden, I think he knew it was bullshit because nothing came out in the testimony saying it was a security risk. But he wanted Trump to have to eat crow for claiming that and going, China. But they've switched it around, and then having these messages put up there are so, now it actually is a propaganda platform. You specifically with your name on it. Propaganda was put forth on that platform to every single user, regardless of your algorithm. If you tried to log in, you saw that. Now you've used it for propaganda from the government. And now,
And now it's okay because it's Trump's name all over it. Versus,
if he can get some money out of it, because he's a grifter, and grifters will grift.
Yep. And one last thing that I noticed in the news today, because I did scan the news real quick to make sure that we weren't in a war already, or our country hasn't been bombed by sensible individuals. I noticed that the Constitution is not on the White House website anymore. What the fuck? It's bad enough he didn't put his hand on the Bible, meaning that I don't know if he actually took the oath of office, but whatever, and
Did. It's not
everything
like
else.
you believed he was a Christian to begin with. That's just a
Well, I
technicality.
knew he wasn't a
The
Christian, but
putting your hand on a Bible is a show. I want to know what the other book was.
I
Melania was
don't.
holding two books. Like a lot of times,
Probably
presidents will have
Mein
more
Kampf.
than one. They'll have like a Bible from their church and an official White House Bible and like their own
Right.
personal or family one. And she had this other little tiny book on top of there that she was holding. I mean, you
That
didn't
was
touch
Mein
any
Kampf.
of it, but
It was Mein Kampf,
damn.
or the speeches of Hitler. One of the two. Yeah, that's my personal opinion on that. It's like when Biden, they just had the one, which was the giant family Bible that was like, the 1,000 years old, that was originally written by Jesus. That he had during his. Like, holy Moses, that thing must have been written by hand by monks or something. That thing's huge. But yeah, that has caused a lot of consternation. Is the fact that the Constitution is no longer found. And now you can find it in the Wayback Machine. You also find it on the Senate website and the House of Representatives website, but I went to the White House page, and the first thing that happens is a giant picture of Trump just appears out of nowhere, just flying at me, going, "Hi, I'm Trump." It's like, good God, you put a warning on that shit before. That's a horror movie kind of thing. What the fuck? Yeah, but it's gone. It's all pictures of Trump on the website now. Instead of it being information, you have to dig for information. Because it's just a bunch of pictures of Trump on the White House page now, and it scares the But yeah, last I checked, I could not find the Constitution on the White House webpage. But they said it's just a glitch, and they'll fix it and everything else eventually once they rewrite the Constitution in crayon. They didn't say that part. That was ad-libbed by me, but anything else that we should discuss before I self-emulate, because this is getting more and more depressing every second that we discuss this.
Yeah, I'm curious about him talking about infrastructure, but I do have to go watch
Oh, does
what
he
he
have a
said.
speech?
He did
Okay.
a thing yesterday, and like he's so worried about his bullshit alien enemies stuff, and trying to push that again, which is terrifying. But using North Carolina and our suffering through the hurricane, not getting help, and what a terrible job the government did. I'm here on the ground. That's a lie.
Yeah, we're getting they're getting help they're getting help still. Just again, like we discussed last week, we can do two things at the same time. We're helping those people in California, but we're also still helping the people that were affected by the hurricane.
Yeah.
The hurricane takes a lot of time, but the fires are immediate kind of situation. And also, you have to understand the media forgets things. How many school shootings just cycle in and out of our lives and stuff like that,
Yeah.
before the next one, because, something new and shining has happened. That's just the way news works right now. So,
Yeah.
but they are still getting help and everything else. They're just not getting news coverage, and that's fine. Local news is covering it and still showing that people are getting help and everything else. So, all right. Uh, any other major things you want to hit on
Nope.
real quick? All right, let's do our call to action then.
An air duct. Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the
Everybody
procedure,
stay calm.
everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm.
Wait.
Everybody calm down.
All right, so our call to action is reach out to people, especially those that would be the most vulnerable, like the people we talked about, the transgender, the non-binary, they're in the transgender umbrella, but people of color, the Latinos in your area, whoever, but reach out, not just to them, but anybody that you think is struggling and everything else. Check on them, make sure they're okay. I'm on a server on Discord that is 99% transgender individuals, and they are struggling. There's been some self-harm happen and stuff like that, and I've been trying to encourage them. It's like, look, stay in the fight with us. We'll get through this, hopefully. I don't say the hopefully part, but it's like, we'll get through this. There's always hope, and there's people that will always defend you, and people like myself who are a cisgender heterosexual white male will stand in the breach for you. When others, when you feel lost and everything else, I will always be here to protect, to help you the best I can.
All of our marginalized communities are definitely in danger from this. Is prioritization of the interests of rich people is a huge shift in our economy and in protection. Trying to remove equal protection under the law from people is very difficult. And so, yes, if you are strong, stand up and do reach out to those folks. And don't forget, like we mentioned last time, to try and take care of yourself. If you're like me, acts of service can help me as it helps other people, and it helps sustain hope. It's really cold in a lot of places right now. For instance, here where I live in North Carolina, it's been unseasonably colder than it usually gets here.
Right.
Like in the teens
Hell froze
at
over.
night. And that's been difficult. And our local shelter has a nighttime warming station. Like for people, because not everyone can be in a shelter. There's a number of rules and reasons and space concerns. And not everyone can go to a shelter, but local community members, as well as some police officers, has been helping to go find the folks that are out there with nothing, their tent on the streets, and bringing them over to the outdoor shelter at the shelter, and they have warming stations and snacks. A friend of mine was telling a story about she took a shift, go over for 2-3 hours, basically supervising and help these folks out so they can live through the night. Everyone deserves this dignity, and she took over a basket of snacks, and these people were so grateful to being able to choose a snack.
Right.
And that hit me, the human dignity of not just taking whatever you're given to get joy in something so simple as being able to have a choice for a single thing you eat. But people are cold, and people will die out in this, and you can probably find ways in your community, if you're having this kind of weather, where citizens are coming together to help the least fortunate among us to get through the night.
Right. So if you feel strong enough to be able to handle that, and that's something like September.
And it's the same populations we're talking about in a lot of cases.
Yeah,
they've been marginalized, put into poverty, and these programs are being targeted and being cut as we speak.
So any help that you can give, even if it's just moral support or whatever, definitely reach out. But again, also make sure that you're taking time for yourself. I've been spending a lot of time watching Bob Ross and Iron Chef, so it's one of those things that helps me get through things. Someone mentioned the fact that on Pluto TV, there's 4 or 5 channels of Star Trek episodes. If you love Star Trek, go watch it. It's one of those things that where we dream of a utopia.
Or if you're not right in the head by me, I'm almost done binging all of Dexter through this.
Oh yeah,
So hopefully that doesn't have an undesirable result.
That's okay. Sometimes I'll sit and watch hours upon hours of Dateline, where it's just where it's nothing but murder and betrayal, and I'm like, all right, let's watch some of this. It's like whatever gets you through, whatever makes you feel better. That kind of situation. Definitely do some of that. Schedule time for that. kind of situation. Schedule time for yourself every day. You know, September talked about last week about, you know, scheduling the thing that you need to do, thing you should do, and then also scheduling time for yourself. So that's all very important. All right. With that, let's get into our carrot and our.
Me. What's up, Doc?
All right. So our carrot was basically me talking about the Biden pardons and everything else, and how he saw the storm coming and made sure to protect the people that needed it protected. Everything else, I kind of wish he gave a blanket pardon to all of us who voted for Kamala Harris, you know, to make sure that none of us go to jail either. But yeah,
Still a secret ballot.
Yeah, I know, but still, it's like, you know, how about all those podcasters that are trashing Trump? Could you give us a blanket pardon so that we don't go end up in Gitmo as an enemy of the state or whatever? That'd be great. Expect the FBI to show up any moment at my door going, hey, I was like, oh, hi. All right, here we go. But yeah, I think the blanket pardons were extremely useful. And I'm sure
And
Trump
he
was.
said, like, protecting these people outweighs some kind of implication. You know, people can say crap about me. I'm doing the right thing. And that's very Joe.
It is very, yeah. It's like one of the
Say what
things
you want. He's been a public servant and a good one for a
yeah.
very, very, very long time.
I
mean, he's
like,
no Jimmy Carter, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but he's also been in office 90% of the time. Jimmy Carter, you know, once he stopped being president, he went and started a couple of things, including the Carter Foundation for voting and stuff like that. And,
you know, and I learned something actually only recently, like 2 days ago, about Biden that I didn't know. His stiff walking isn't just, you know, compared to running around with Obama, isn't like just an aging or decrepit thing.
he has a shorter foot, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
He had an injury in his foot. Like he broke a bone, I think, in his foot. Mm-hmm. Had a hairline fracture in his foot right after he got elected.
Right.
And he forewent physical therapy to be like busting his ass. He just went back to work. He had to, you know, we had the pandemic, we had all this stuff going on. He forewent physical therapy, and that's why he walks like that, because he was just like working himself to death.
Right. And also he has a back injury that he needs surgery on as well.
Yeah, and he's just like, nope, got work to do. Nope, got work to do.
Yeah, so now he can get those things fixed, hopefully, and everything else. But yeah, again, people.
But keep making fun of him, folks.
Yeah, keep making fun of the fact that he tripped up at the stairs. You know, whatever.
Yeah, no one's ever done that.
Yeah, whatever. But I did like one of the things I did like is one of the last press conferences was talking about the ceasefire and everything else, and some idiot asked him in the press corps, like, you know, Trump says that he was the one that did this and everything. Should we? No, what was it? The question was, should we? Should the credit go to you or to Trump? And he's like, "Are you kidding me?" He walked out.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of wish I saw a little more of that kind of Joe through the 4 years, being a little more, you know, just calling people out and everything else. Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, so, all right, let's get to our stick.
Don't you blaspheme in here! Don't you blaspheme in here!
All right, so our stick is right before the inauguration this weekend, there was a crypto ball. And this crypto ball, first off, had Snoop Doggy Dogg. What the shizzle? Why are you betraying us like this? You know, Snoop. What's up with this? I don't understand.
Yeah, that was a great TikTok clip I saw of Snoop trashing on artists that played at Trump's last inauguration.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. But that being said, then you have. At that point, then Trump released his own meme coin. I will let September explain that a little more because I don't know the difference between standard crypto and meme crypto, so she can explain that. But basically, it's in my way and from what I've analysis from like Richard Maddow and other people. It's basically a way for people to give Trump money directly so that they can, get his favor and everything else now that he's president. 2 or 3 days before he took the oath of office, he launches this meme coin, and it's already worth several $billions. So could you explain what a meme coin is versus like standard crypto, or is it similar, or?
No, it's the same thing.
Oh, it is. It's just that it's got his name on it
There,
versus
yeah,
it
because
being.
he's calling it like the only official Trump meme. It's kind of just sticking NFT sort of branding onto CryptoCoin, trying to create its imaginary value, um, which is different. There's and Melania also launched a coin. I'm stunned that people are surprised by this. This has been coming.
Yeah.
I've been watching it for a couple of months. He's been hanging out with crypto bros and talking about
Mhm.
crypto. Like, I knew this was coming. I don't know why the industry would be, stunned by it. And then, of course, he already owned, a ton of it. I feel bad for other crypto, honestly, because I was like, maybe I shouldn't have sold mine off because it'll get a temporary boost, but crypto's so volatile, I don't think it would stick.
Yeah.
And I don't think all crypto will get a boost, and this could hurt other crypto uh,
Right.
because this is
Because
just
they're
a Trump
shifting
thing.
money from, yeah, because they shipped it from like Bitcoin or from other I know there's what is it, Bitcoin was I know there's a couple that are long lasting coins and everything else, and moving it from like the Bitcoin to like Trump's moving their money from the Bitcoin and stuff like that to the Trump coin and everything else. And again, it's one of those things where it does come off as a big grift and everything else, much like his $100,000 watches, his tennis shoes. He's now got Timberland style boots that he's selling. I mean, this is like, basically he's not a president. He is a professional wrestler who just happens to wield incredible power, but he also is merchandising the fuck out of everything. He's merchandising his name and everything else, and
Which he always has. So he does. He
yeah,
slaps his name on something
and but now
and
it's a
takes his
lot
credit.
different.
And this is like just another example. Oh my god, the constant examples of his using the office to make money. Um,
Mhm.
that he did, and it was always like, you can't have this. Sorry,
It's like when
it's
he,
so sickening. And the way he was
yeah,
talking about everything when he was signing executive orders was just even more of. He kept talking about places. Okay, he talked about Gaza
right,
as being a great piece of land. It's disaster now. It looks like everything's been demolished because of the war, but they're surrounded by water. They have all this waterfront. He did it in a few other places that were mentioned, but yeah, him talking about Gaza like he wanted to build waterfront condos, I almost threw up.
yeah, yeah. Well,
That's how he
again,
talks about people and their livelihood and their property. And this is more of that. And outright using your office for this kind of thing, it's
well,
unconscionable. It's supposed to be illegal.
it's like when he talked about the Iraq War. It's like he said we should take their oil, kind of thing. He
Hmm.
thinks everything is a business transaction and everything. That's what he talked about with NATO back then.
And people need to wake up because he's selling Americans. His
Mhm.
Make America Great Again is such bullshit. He's selling out the whole American ideal to the highest bidder at every opportunity for his own
Mhm.
benefit.
Mhm.
That's what I see. It's evidenced. I,
So, well, before we start another full
big
hour of
stick.
this program, so yeah, that's the stick. Is the him, starting his own meme coin to so that he can sell us out even more. With that being said, next week we will just do news. We're not going to do any specific topic. We're just going to do news. And me and September will probably have a meeting sometime this week about what we're going to do in the next couple of months because I start my job next week after we record and everything else. So we'll talk about all that. And that's when we're going to all of that kind of stuff.
Merit-based economy, code for ditching all DEI.
With that being said, let me again. This could be another hour and a half conversation. All right. Thank you for joining us at Heresy and Hearsay. I'm Reverend Barney, and you can follow me on the socials at SethRothII. You can also find the show on Facebook, Space Guy, fuck, Blue Sky, YouTube, and any podcast catcher. Just Google us.
And I'm September. Go to 9of12.com and find all of my content. And please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Heresy and Hearsay, where $2 a month really helps keeps us going. Thanks for listening today, and bless your hearts.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.